53 years ago, an unknown Norwegian old lady who was a devout Christian left 4 prophecies about the future world. In 1968, an evangelist named Minos had a chance encounter with this old lady who was already 90 years old at that time. According to Minos' recollection, what set this old lady apart from others was her clear-mindedness and quick reactions. What was even more remarkable was that among all the people who knew her, she had an excellent reputation. There was no doubt that she was an honest and credible Christian. She had seen some visions from God about significant events before Christ's second coming, and she shared these visions with Minos. Hurriedly, Minos picked up a pen and recorded everything she said. However, after listening to her descriptions, doubts inevitably arose in Minos' mind at that time, because what she spoke of seemed sensational, incomprehensible, and unreliable. Without much thought, he casually set aside the manuscript, gradually forgetting about it. And there it remained untouched for over 20 years. It wasn't until an occasion that Minos accidentally opened a long-forgotten manuscript. As he read through the descriptions left by the old lady once again, he was astonished to discover that almost every single one of her 4 prophecies had been fulfilled. His heart was shaken by this discovery. In his astonishment, he seemed to sense that it was the divine will that drove him to notice the manuscript once again. It was time to make her prophecies known to the public. Next, let's explore the future visions contained in her prophecies and the revelations they hold. According to the prophecies compiled by Minos, the old lady said, "I saw the time just before the coming of Jesus and the outbreak of the Third World War. I saw the events with my natural eyes. I saw the world like a kind of a globe and saw Europe land by land. I saw Scandinavia. I saw Norway. I saw certain things that would take place just before the return of Jesus, and just before the last calamity happens, a calamity which we have never experienced." In the manuscript, she mentioned that humanity will go through 4 waves. The first wave: before Jesus comes and before the Third World War breaks out, there will be a period of peace that we have never had before. There will be a long peace between the superpowers in the East and the West. In this period of peace, there will be disarmament in many countries, also in Norway, and we are not prepared when the war comes. The Third World War will begin in a way no one would have anticipated, and from an unexpected place. Minos annotated, "Remember that this was in 1968 when the Cold War was at its highest." The second wave: a lukewarmness without parallel will take hold of the Christians, a falling away from true living Christianity. Christians will not be open for penetrating preaching. They will not, like in earlier times, want to hear of sin and grace, law and gospel, repentance and restoration. There will come a substitute instead, prosperity Christianity. The important thing will be to have success, to be something, to have material things. Things that God never promised us in this way. churches and prayer houses will be emptier and emptier, losing their original meaning. Instead of the preaching we have been used to for generations, entertainment, art and culture will invade the churches where there should have been gatherings for repentance and revival. The third wave. There will be a moral disintegration, and universal values of morality will gradually crumble and collapse. This is something that old Norway has never experienced before. People will live together like married without being married. Much uncleanness before marriage and much infidelity in marriage will become common, and it will be justified from every angle. It will even enter Christian circles. Minos annotated, "I don't believe the concept cohabiter existed in 1968. She continued, "Just before Jesus returns, there will be TV programs that we have never experienced. TV will be filled with such horrible violence, and people will use it for entertainment. It teaches people to murder and destroy each other. People will copy what they see, and it will be unsafe in our streets. We will see terrible scenes of murder and destruction, one of the other, and this will spread in society." The old woman says, "There will not be only one station on TV. It will be filled with stations." TV had just arrived in Norway in 1968. She didn't know the word channel, which we use today. Therefore, she called them stations. Furthermore, the old lady continued to say, "Sex scenes will also be shown on the screen, the most intimate things that takes place in a marriage." Upon hearing this, Minos immediately protested and said, "We have a paragraph that forbids this kind of thing." There, the old woman said, "It will happen and you will see it. All we have had before will be broken down, and the most indecent things will pass before our eyes." The fourth wave. Regarding Europe, she said, "People from poor countries America, Japan, Australia, and the wealthy countries. The remnant in the wealthy countries will try to flee to the poor countries, but they will be as hard on us as we were on them. I am so glad that I will not see it, but when the time draws near, you must take courage and tell this. I have received it from God, and nothing of it goes against what the Bible tells. In fact, the prophecies of this 90-year-old woman have already been published in one of Norway's Christian newspapers and the Christian Information Service in Germany. So, after these prophecies and visions have come true, does it mean that Christ is returning soon? The 4 prophecies of the Norwegian lady directly point to the moral decline that humanity is facing in the current society. Everything is happening, and even religious places haven't been spared. In the book, The Devil is Ruling Our World, it's written as follows: in the churches of various religions in today's world, many bishops and priests wearing the robes of religion are spreading distorted theological ideas while succumbing to corruption and scandals. Things are happening just as the old woman prophesied. Is the moment of the great judgment, as spoken by the old woman, approaching? Let's talk about another prophecy concerning oil spills in Norway. Martin Anderson, an elder in the Pentecostal church in Moss, Norway, heard the following weird prophecy in 1937 in Moss. When oil comes out of the North Sea and along the Norwegian coast, things will begin to happen, and the return of Jesus is approaching. When these words had been proclaimed, people stood up in the congregation and considered it as nonsense. In 1937, it was indeed nonsense to talk about oil being pumped along the Norwegian coast. Today, we all know that Norway is the world's 3rd greatest exporter of oil, after Saudi Arabia and Russia. Today, all the world's big oil companies are pumping oil along the coast of Norway.